our honorable guest is Dr. Saskia Harkema, and she is here with us, and she's a wonderful person, a multifaceted personality. She has a background in sociology and business administration, and also she is doing PhD in social sciences. Well, she is a doctor, so she has done already that. She also has experience in the private and nonprofit sector. The most amazing thing is that next to her work as an academic and as a trainer, she is a human rights defender, which is really, really amazing. This is the most important aspect of our lives, and I think it should become a part of each one of us lives as well. She set up a foundation, Faces of Change, for that purpose. And this is incredible how she's managing all of this all together. And she holds several positions, because this is quite something which needs to be inculcated in one's timetable. That if you're taking care of a lot of jobs then at one time, then you need to be a person who's really quick, who's really fast in grabbing onto information, doing a lot of things, grabbing onto your timetable, and so on. So she's the international leader of Impact Leaders International. That's just one organization, that global ambassador for Female Wave of Change, and senior expert for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So this, like, wow, but with the wow factor, what comes in is how she is managing all of this. So we're going to ask her this as well today, that how she is managing all of this amazing and all of this so much responsibility that she's dealing with. And she has authored several academic and non-academic books as well. So writing one book is quite a hassle. Talking about so many and several books, wow, that's another wow factor to her personality. It's her passion. Actually, writing is one thing that Dr. Saskia thinks that it is a wonderful thing. It's a passion for her, and it's not just something that she is working upon. It's something that has become a part of her blood, a part of her life. It is her in total. So her most recent book is about her work as a peace builder, and it has been titled Become a Peace Builder and an Impact Leader. So we're going to talk about her book as well. For people who have just joined us and they don't know what I'm talking about, I am Senior Vice Chairperson, Read Pakistan, also the CEO. What we talk about is literature. What we talk about, generally, is how to build libraries and how to inculcate the reading habit in people. It's amazing how you start from the age of 0 and go up to whatever time God has bestowed upon you, and you can work your way out. But you have to be reading. You have to be an avid reader. You have to be somebody who knows and somebody who is willing to learn. So this is our motive as Read Pakistan. Today the topic is a very interesting one, because I am a literature person. I've done my master's in English literature, and today the topic is literature and humanity. And this is what we're going to talk about today. So, cutting it really short now, I'm going to reach to Dr. Saskia. Hello, doctor. How are you today?
Yes, hello. I'm very honored to be part of your program, and I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Yes. Me too. This is going to be really amazing. Unfortunately, last time we missed on due to some issues which were technical, errors occurring. So this time, everybody is going to definitely enjoy this session, and we were all looking forward for this. We were looking forward for it last week as well, but I think it's better than late than never. So I think it's going to be a wonderful session. So Dr. Saskia, as usual, because I'm going to follow a very regular pattern that Read Pakistan follows, and for that, I'm going to ask you the first and most important prior question, which is that how did you develop your connection with books? It's really important for all of us to know, and it's really important for our readers and people, who are watching us at the same time, that, how did you develop a connection with books? How did you do it?
Yes. Well, I have always been a passionate reader, even as a child, and this has two reasons. First of all, my late grandfather, he owned a bookstore, and was a very well-known bookstore in the village where he lived. And I remember as a child that I enjoyed so much going to his bookstore and surrounding myself with the books, and also reading the books that, of course, depending on my age. So that's one. You could say that I was my grandfather played a very important role in this respect. But also as a child, I was always a child that woke up really early. When everybody was still sleeping, I was reading. I was reading all kinds of books. I loved, as a small child, I loved the books of Agatha Christie. And I was really quite small. And I read all of the books of Agatha Christie.
Wow.
Yeah. So somehow I've always, it has really always played a very important role in my life, because what I love is stories is basically what life is about. Life is about stories, and that's why I love reading. Yeah.
That's amazing. So basically, you started as a person who had a lot of imagination and wanted to, so wanted to have a lot of stories around you. And I think that's so true. I've spoken with a lot of people, and the most wonderful part is that I feel that either their parents or their grandparents have actually played a very pivotal or vital role in their life for building them to be readers, which unfortunately is not the case for non-readers. And it becomes, at the end of the day, it becomes so important that there should be people around you, books around you. So amazingly, you've grown up to be a person, but you were a child who was surrounded with books. So this is amazing. This is amazing, definitely. So what do you think? What kind of books did actually made a very say, for instance, deep impact of their they have an influence on your personality? What kind of books? Maybe you can just talk about genres.
Yeah, well, I think because it was not only part of my, let's say, private family life, but I also, at the schools I went to, literature was a very important topic. I was born in Holland, but I grew up in Latin America, South America, and I always went to English schools, and literature was a very important topic. And I was fascinated by the books of Jane Austen. And why was I fascinated by the books of Jane Austen? She somehow could write in a way very detailed, very vividly about people, just people of flesh and blood. And she described the scenery, the way they lived. And I was fascinated by that. So these are the books that I really enjoyed reading, trying to picture that world, which is, of course, another world 200 years ago or 100 years ago. And it was, for me, yeah, I was fascinated by the way that she wrote about, and I think this inspired me later, about people, about real people.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, that's I think I read Jane Austen back, this about 15 years back,
Yeah.
and I think I really enjoyed reading her, even though she talks about very she gets into details, and a lot of them. So yeah, it was quite difficult for me to actually initially, that it was very difficult for me to grapple onto a lot of things. But then I realized that Jane Austen is a wonderful writer. I mean, and also the Bronte sisters. I mean, everything
Yeah.
has been well
Yeah.
connected. But yeah, so I read initially. I remember Pride and Prejudice of Jane Austen,
Yeah.
and it's like one of those books which really, when you're a young person, I think
Yeah.
that kind of thing would really intrigue you, or maybe you would be sort of fascinated. But about the detailing, definitely she was wonderful. And
Yeah.
so, doctor, tell me more about this book that you're writing, and then we can move on to literature and humanity. But before that, let's talk about your book, the impact of, maybe the
A
impact,
book
but
on peace building.
yes, but yeah, the peace building, and how it is impacting our society, or maybe it hasn't started yet, but how you visualized it to be impacting our society.
Well, I realized that the red thread in my life has always been, um, I would say, fighting for social justice. And that has always somehow been important for me, and not the very big things in the political sense, but always social justice for people. And I remember it started with me as a small child. As I said, I grew up in South America, which at that time was a lot of poverty. And so, and already as a child, I was very aware of, for instance, inequality in society. And so this has been very defining in my life and my life choices. And I see the book on peace building as, you could say, the culmination of everything that I've done so far. And what is so very characteristic about the way we approach, or I approach, peace building is that I also boil it down to us, people, becoming peace builders. So not something abstract like institutions or politics, but we can all become peace builders. That's the main message. It starts with us. If we, in our day-to-day life, take the trouble and make it a habit, you could say, to, with small acts of kindness, influence or impact someone's life, we are building peace.
Yes.
And if we spread that, it's can you catalyze change if other people start doing that. And it's creating waves, you could say. And
Yes.
so, yeah. So the approach is built on this idea, again, of us. And this also has to do with my work as a human rights defender, because in the last 10 years, I've heard so much about the impact of war on people and of conflict and of political oppression, that I thought it's always so abstract. You talk about geopolitical relations, but I think, but this is about people. War is about people, how it
Yes.
impacts their lives. So the book on peace building is, I dare say, a very unique approach that we have developed, bringing it down to what can we as individuals do, and combination with a very business-like approach. So what we say is, let's make an economy of peace, because war is an industry. It's a very big industry involving a lot of money. Why wouldn't we replace that by an economy of peace, so that we get
Yes.
rid of all these conflicts? That's the
that
main
that's
message.
that's a wonderful idea. So you're actually building onto something which people, I would say that you have taken a maiden flight, because I don't see a lot of counterparts for war, and there is war everywhere. That unfortunately we have fallen into that time zone, or maybe even, I think it's with humanity. It's not the time zone or anything, but if we say about travel 50, 60, 70 years back, we will fall into that area where there was world wars going on. There were revolutions coming in, so the French Revolution and the British Revolution, and then there was time, then there were the wars, where there were the World War I and II and so
Yeah,
on. So
yeah,
yes, we have always faced this difficulty, but even through
yeah.
those times, there has been no league of people who were actually talking of peace. Yes, we see scattered, scattered energy of positivity, but we don't see one school of thought really talking about. Because there's always been a school of thought talking about war, but then there hasn't been a counterpart talking about peace at the same time.
Well, the interesting thing is that we have come to justify that we use violence against violence, which
Yes,
is really weird. I would
yes,
say,
that's
if
not
you
the
want,
answer.
yeah, if you want to undo violence, you have to break the cycle of violence, and it's much more difficult. And then you have to tap into your empathy, your respect, your integrity, and that's the challenge, because it's
Yes.
so easy to say, you know what, I'm gonna use war, I'm going to use violence to try to oppress the other. This has become the narrative. Well, we say no, let's change the narrative.
That's propagate. I mean, talking about this, I'm not trying to propagate, but Japan has really worked onto these things. If we work on those areas where there was, so they came up with very nice peace treaties and so on, and also that they have really worked upon in their next generation. They have instilled that they have done a lot of work with peace and peace movements and everything. So yes, this is very important. I think one of the most important things is how we deal with our war, war going on around us, and how we're going to sort of give out not a negative repercussion, but a positive ramification for the same. So I think it's really important. Do you think that you are getting criticism on your book, Dr. Saskia?
Well, so far, not criticism, but people
Okay.
say that's very ambitious if you want to create an economy of peace. And I say,
Yeah.
yes, it's an ambitious plan, but it's time we do it. Because just to give you an indication, we're spending more than $2.5 trillion yearly on war. Seriously? Well, it only destroys. And this is not the cost of war. The cost of war is more than 13
Yeah.
trillion because it
Yes.
destroys everything. And then you have to rebuild it and
Built
not to
it.
think about the impact on people. It destroys lives. So I say, yeah, if we are able to do that, why wouldn't we be able to create an economy of peace? So yes,
That's
it's
wonderful.
ambitious, but I absolutely believe in the urgency, the necessity, and I feel that the way that people are responding to us, they say, yes, we really have to do it. It's enough. Because on top of all these wars, we also have COVID now.
Yeah.
COVID, which has bring to light the inequality in the world. So it's time for change, really fundamental change. And I think
Wonderful.
literature can play a key role in this respect.
uh, Doctor, what do you think? As in your book, how you have, I'm just going to put it, say, for instance, you might just be able to put it in a gist, how you can say about three factors or three steps or three things that you would suggest for promoting an economy, a peace economy. So that even people should become really inquisitive about reading your
Yeah,
book as well, but at the
yeah,
same time should have the idea what the book is running around. So,
yeah,
how about explaining it in, say, about three pointers,
yeah,
maybe?
yeah. Well, first of all, we say it starts, as I say, it starts with us. So, and it revolves around values. And there are for us four key values, that is trust, empathy, integrity, and respect. This is the four. With those four values, you have to use them to break the cycle of violence. And in order to do that, we go through different stages. How can you become a peace builder? Yes, you have the values. First, you have to develop a thorough understanding of who you are and what roots you, because this is what gives you strength. Many people, they are not sufficiently aware of what they're capable of. We say, you are the hero in your life journey. You are a hero. And start thinking of yourself as a hero. Instead of I'm an engineer or I'm a doctor, you are the one in charge of your life. So if you develop this thorough self-awareness, then you can start working with your community. So we don't have a top-down approach, we have a bottom-up approach. You surround yourself with people that are going to spread that same message and are going to work on peace. That's the second step. And once you have created your tribe, your community, then only you can start advocating for peace, start trying to influence policy, creating a social fabric which hinges on peace. So it's a bottom-up approach. This is the core of it.